जय श्री माताजी। आज के सामूहिक ध्यान सत्र में उपस्थित सभी सहजी भाई बहनों का हार्दिक स्वागत है। ध्यान की शुरुआत कुंडलिनी चढ़ा के बंधन लेते हुए करेंगे। तीन महामंत्र और श्री गणेश मंत्र। श्री माताजी, हमारा आत्म साक्षात्कार दृढ़ कीजिएगा पूरा चित्त हमारे सहस्त्रार में ही रखेंगे। इसी ध्यान की स्थिति को बरकरार रखते हुए हम अभी श्री माताजी की अमृतवाणी ग्रहण करेंगे।
Today we are here to celebrate Mahashivaratri. It's a very great privilege for all of us to understand about Shri Mahadeva. Unless and until you have got your self-realization, you cannot understand what is the great personality, the character and the powers of Shri Mahadeva. It's not easy to conceive, also to reach the depth of his greatness unless and until we are humble. We have to be very humble to reach at the lotus feet of Shri Mahadeva. As you have seen that one has to cross even the Sahasrara to be at the lotus feet of this great personality. He is beyond our conception, but he resides in our hearts as the Spirit and is reflected very well when you get your realization. But still, one has to understand the powers of Shri Mahadeva, which is not very easy to describe about this great God in little words. The first power he himself has, that he is a very forgiving God. He forgives. He forgives us so many of our sins, so many of our destructive activities, our horrible mind which tries to create problems for everyone. Up to a point. But he has the greatest power to destroy. His destruction comes so suddenly because he rules all the elements. All the elements he rules. He rules the Mother Earth and he rules all other elements. Through their causal, he rules and he can destroy everything that he wants to if he finds there is problem. I have to tell you that earthquakes are managed by him, not by me. I am not there for destruction. He is the one who sees what's happening on this earth, what's happening to the human being. I'll give you an example of Gujarat. Apart from anything, Gujarat people are very money oriented. They are worried with the stock exchange, this, that, all the time, money, 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 money. Even if they are abroad, they are extremely money oriented. Sometimes I am surprised. It's impossible to talk to them about Sahajayoga. And they like artificial type of things like some gurus or somebody. I don't know from where did they get this. Whatever it is. We have a state called Bhavnagar in Gujarat. Bhavnagar people came, they brought for me those silver slippers, padukas, to be vibrated. I was surprised. I was happy at least that these people are thinking about it. So they did a puja, they did a havan in Bhavnagar and also in Baroda. These are the two places were not touched even by the bhukamp, by the earthquake. Can you imagine? And Surat, which is very much distant, was absolutely shattered. There are Sahajogis, very few. All of them were saved. And their houses also did not move. This is between the protection of your mother and the wrath of God Almighty. One has to understand this very well, that He has powers over all the elements. I went to France, and there some people in France tried to trouble me. And all the media got after me. And on the television, everywhere, they were saying all kinds of things against me. I knew something would go wrong somewhere. And suddenly from the sea, a big, I don't know what to call it, a big storm started. Suddenly, no one knows why. And two ships were completely sunk. And those people who went to rescue them got cancer. Then it came, this storm started moving fast, and all the churches lost their top heads, I should say. All the churches lost it. So many priests' houses were ruined. And it traveled and came up to the place where I had purchased a very big castle. Just stopped at the brink of it. Now, it's not my doing, I must tell you. But this is what He does. Though He is very forgiving, He is extremely kind, He is blissful, but you should be aware of His powers. All those powers are used to protect my work, I should say. It goes too far. And it is to show to people that they shouldn't obstruct the work of spirituality. It should be real spirituality. It should not be somebody like a false guru coming up and showing some magic or talking something about some far-fetched things. But the real spirituality, if you have, the protection will be always there, and Shiva will be very busy. He's extremely blissful. And what does he give you is even more beautiful than you could think of. He is extremely forgiving. I should say he is the source of forgiveness. If you have forgiveness in your heart, he resides in your heart. Otherwise, gradually you start developing very difficult type of diseases. Say, if you are forgiving, your heart runs very fast. No one can touch your heart. You cannot get heart attacks. But if you are tolerating, suffering, and taking many things as a power of your own, doing wrong things, and forgetting about God, then you also start developing a very weak heart. So one side is that you develop a heart which is extremely aggressive and can become like Hitler's heart. Under any kind of pretensions, if you start torturing someone, your heart becomes solid, and then you can get a tremendous, massive heart attack, and all the troubles follow. This is inevitable. But supposing you are extremely tolerant and you tolerate all nonsense, you are very docile, you are a frightened person. If you are frightened and because of fright you do that, you can develop another kind of a heart we call as angina, where the blood supply is less and ultimately you develop a kind of a guilt and you lead a very mediocre life. So this second thing also is very visible among people who think they are very, very tolerant. I am saying that tolerance is all right because of spirituality, but not because you are frightened and you are afraid of something. If you are a Sahajayogi, you have no business to be afraid of anything. In India, people are afraid of everything. If they see a squirrel, they'll be frightened. If they see a lizard, finished. I mean, they are afraid of anything. And the ladies of India are so afraid of even cockroaches. This kind of temperament is absolutely stupid, because that makes you a kind of a person who is prone to angina. What is there to be afraid of? If you are a Sahajayogi and Sahajogini, you are not to be afraid of it. They are afraid of rats, all kinds of nonsense, and they boast of it. And they talk about it. Here the heart is becoming weak and weak and weak. Also, I must say, the Indian men are responsible for that. because they treat their women as if they are appendages or some sort of a liability. I don't know what they think that. Their behavior is so bad, unbelievable. Especially in the North India, I have seen women have no position. The woman is brought in the house, kept in the house, just like a maid servant. She has to cover her face all the time. She doesn't have to go out anywhere without permission. It's terrible. Some people say it is the Muslim influence or whatever it is. But when you believe in eternal life, in spiritual life, you should not be governed by any such nonsensical atrocities. And that's why I feel that you really need the emancipation of women in India. They are very good, they are very tolerant, they are very sweet, but they develop all the bad diseases, all the mental diseases, because they don't know their own value, they don't know their own self-respect. And on this I have already spoken at length. Why should men behave like that? Because I think in our country we have at least 70% are women. And the 70% people's energy is wasted in the North India. I don't know what they think of themselves. And then they are punished. All such countries can never prosper because women are the Lakshmis. But they have to be Lakshmis also. They have to behave like Lakshmis. But some of them come up like this that you are shocked. How can they be women? They look like devils. So it's such an imbalance in the society, which is punished again by Shri Mahadeva. He is very kind and he looks after the people who are suffering. And he tries to punish people who make them suffer. It is his quality to help by destroying people who are aggressive. He doesn't talk of in Kundalini. He doesn't talk of self-realization. He just punishes them nicely in such a bad way that is shocking. And he relieves sometimes people like, I've seen many women who live like this, suffer so much. They die much earlier than their age. All this one has to see in the right perspective. He is there to protect, of course, but more to destroy. He protects all kinds of animals, all birds, all the nature he protects. He is the one who brings all the joy of spirituality. But if you try to become aggressive, then he is the one who will destroy. Sometimes he gives more long rope to have a hand. And so people think we are all right, they satisfy themselves. On the contrary, in the West I find the women are ruling the men more than the men. Very surprising. I don't know how they have handled the situation. But they are ruling all the time. And the men have to be under their thumb. I don't know how they have managed it. But they do it. They are not humble. They don't love. And they will go on divorcing their husbands all the time. They do not love. They don't know what is love is. But also, I've seen men don't understand what love is in India. They don't know how to love their wives, which is a life partner. How to respect. They don't understand. There, then comes a great wrath. And this wrath works in so many ways, in creating horrible diseases and in creating problems and problems for such men. And the society also is responsible for doing all kinds of things against humble people. Both ways, one has to understand that if you are aggressive, you are under the third eye of Shri Mahadeva. In any way. If you are aggressive, say with your servants. If you are aggressive with your subordinates. If you are aggressive with your children. There is this wrathful God watching, and one can get under the spell of his destruction. But he gives us the great heights of Himalaya. He makes human beings extremely beautiful, very noble. And he wants that people should love each other. There should be pure love among human beings. And also, he makes you very delicately behaving towards other people, very sweetly behaving towards others. If you don't have that, then you are going in the wrong direction. But his greatest thing is that he gives you the height and the depth. If you are worshipping him, then you develop such heights that you see the whole world as a witness. He sees the whole world as a Sakshi Swarupa, as a witness. And so, he is the knowledge. He is the pure knowledge. You may get your realization, all right? You might feel cool breeze in your hands, all right? But, do you have the knowledge? I have to tell you. What finger means what hand means what is vibrations, I have to tell you. He is that knowledge. He is the pure knowledge, complete knowledge of the highest level. So he is the source of knowledge. Those people who are not humble cannot get that knowledge. Those people who are arrogant and who do not handle others delicately, sweetly, beautifully, are not blessed by him. They cannot achieve anything in life. What do we have to achieve? Not your position, not your wealth, not all these outward things, but you have to achieve a loving heart with which you can love. If there is Shiva in your heart, you will love everyone in a very beautiful manner. There won't be any nonsensical ideas about love. Just pure love for all the people. Is the blessing. Then all your harshness goes away. For example, if you have a little power, so you start to misusing it. Look at Shiva. He has so many powers. If he starts misusing, there won't be even a blade of grass left on this earth. How much we are sinful, selfish, you know that. But still he gives you a chance. So let's see, they might improve. And he is extremely generous, extremely generous. He is very forgiving and also extremely generous. Now supposing there are people who are living in a desert and they are very good people and they are suffering because they are living in a desert. He will create oases for them. He controls the Mother Earth. He can do everything to make them happy if they are spiritual, if they worship Him. But human beings are so stupid that they go on fighting also in the name of God. Like in the south we have two types of people. One who worship Shiva, another who worship Vishnu. Can you imagine? Vishnu used to worship Shiva. Nobody is higher, nobody is lower. It's so important. Everything is so important. But they used to fight on this point. If they are worshipping Shiva or they are worshipping Vishnu, and nowhere near the reality they were. They did not what was the reality. Nothing. Just fighting, fighting, fighting. In the name of God, those who fight, Shiva comes on them and he is tied and hits them. You are not to fight in the name of God, but you have to love and understand. So this fighting in the name of God is a nonsense. Not only that, but it's very, very dangerous. All such people who will do that will be destroyed. It is self-destructive. Such people will be destroyed completely. So, you should understand that in the name of God you have to love. You have to understand. You need not tolerate nonsense, it's different. But you have to love people, spread your love. Gradually this love can go all over the world. And then the vision of mine I can see working out. But if there's fighting, there's hatred, there's all kind of aggressiveness, these are all against Shiva, and such people will be destroyed. What will I do with them? What can I do if they are destroyed? If they are very money-oriented, materialistic people, they are not loving them. They love you only for money. All such people will be destroyed. No doubt. One should be not only humble, but should be extremely loving. To get the blessings of Shiva, you have to be extremely loving. Such people may not be very cunning, clever, maybe very innocent. Must be. Because when you love somebody, you want to help that person. I have suffered myself. I have tried to help people and they have deceived me. So what? That's their nature. And they are destroyed. What can I do? I didn't ask them that you deceive me, but they deceived me. I don't know why. And I've been very kind and nice, still they deceive me. So then the destruction follows. What can I do about it? I don't want anybody to be destroyed. I love this creation of mine, and I don't have any way of protection them if they are destructive. Because there's another great power who can destroy them. This is absolutely, my mind is a helpless condition sometimes I feel. And I don't know how to express, but one has to understand as Sahaja that with Shiva's love and his blessings, you can become extremely loving, extremely generous, very, very sweet and innocent like children. You have to be innocent. There's no need to be very clever and cunning. And you'll be amazed how your innocence will be protected. If you are innocent, you don't have to worry. There's a power. There's the third eye of Shiva who's looking after you. Wherever you are going, he is with you. That doesn't mean that you become stupid. Doesn't mean that you are not practical. All that is taken over, all the practice, right, by the power of Shiva. His guidance, his love, his kindness, you can see at every step. But first of all, watch your steps. Are you aggressive? Are you troublesome? Do you say harsh things to others? Or are you humble? Are you gentle? And if you are kind, he is very much pleased with you. In the nature, it is his rule that works. And they are so systematic. They live with understanding of each other. For example, if you go in the jungle and it is absolutely quiet, don't hear even the birds twittering, then you should know there's a tiger sitting somewhere. Because he's the king. They know they have to obey, and when the king is there, his protocol is there. They know automatically what is the protocol of the king. Nobody would be even moving if he's there. He sits in his majesty. Then in 1 week or maybe by 15 days, he'll kill one animal. He has to eat. Kills one animal, then he and his family, they eat first. He waits for some time, of course, for the blood to ooze out. Then the whole family comes and eats. Then he leaves the body there. Then by gradation, one by one, all kinds of animals come and eat it as a prasad. And the lastly are the crows who come and eat that animal. such discipline, such understanding of the protocol. I'm amazed how animals are managed by Shiva. We never hear that animals are having a strike or animals are having a big underworld animals. You don't hear that these animals are stealing things. But you just imagine, we are coming from that animal life, but we are worse than them. How are we going to rise if we have all such funny ideas of behaving in such a manner, of fighting? On any small little excuse they'll fight, they start fighting. Animals also fight a little bit among themselves, but not in a collective way. They don't do it in a collective way as we do it here, and we do not. It's really, at the slightest provocation, we get into groups and start fighting. They get into groups, but they don't fight. What is the thing among them? Everything is so much understood by animals. Why not for us also to understand the law of nature? It is Mahadeva who manages that all the nature's law are to be obeyed. Even the Mother Earth, the sky, everything is looked after by him. He does nice, beautiful things for us. With the changing of the seasons, he creates these beautiful flowers, he creates. All that is soothing, joy-giving and beautiful, he looks out. He gives us to see what nature has given us and tries to please us, keep us happy, entertain like an innocent child. But while we are in our arrogance, we have our reactions to everything. You see a carpet, you say, I don't like it. Especially in the West, it is a common thing to say, I don't like it. Who are you not to like something or to dislike something? What do you think of yourself? It's very common. And shamelessly they will say, I don't like it, I like it. It's impossible. Such human beings, I don't know where will they go. What will happen to them? Instead of appreciating, instead of enjoying everything. Why to start criticizing and reacting? Reaction is much more in the West, I must say, not so much in India. But there are certain cultural difference, I think, that's why people say like that. Here, if somebody says like that, people will think that person is mad or something wrong with him, the way he talks. So it's important how you express your love, how you talk about your love. Start it with your wife to begin with, and then you can move towards your children and others. We are so stupid sometimes that we love the whole world but we can't love our wives. It's a speciality. In India that's very true. But also in the West I've seen people love their wives because of fear. Fear of divorce maybe, I don't know. Love should have no fear. It should have just free love. Without any fear, without any aggression. Enjoy that pure love. And that is what is missing in the human beings today as it is. When the day will come when human beings will be understanding the beauty of love, then from the heavens there will be flowers pouring on us. It would be such a tremendous day when Mahadeva will be able to close his third eye and would be peaceful in his heart. It's my vision. It's the future for you to see how peacefully you can talk to me, how sweetly you can love others, how much you can give to others. For example, they have to give something, they'll go in the market and buy the cheapest, the rottenest thing for giving. That's not the way. You must buy it small or big, whatever, out of love. That should talk about your love, tell about your love, and not about your money, what you have spent. It's very common nowadays, even in India, that people try to show how much they are worth, what they wear, how they dress up. For what? For what? I've known such people, very many. When they die, there are not even 4 people available to carry their dead body. When they leave, they think no one of themselves. That time, you should see how many people there are to love that person, to care for that person. Maybe it is his upbringing, maybe that he had never known love. Anything you may blame. But for a Sahajayogi, it is important to learn that love is your life. Love is spirituality. And love without expectations to do something. Some people are, I know, very good at helping poor people, this, that. But behind that is the power that they do. They think, oh, we are great, we are doing this work, that work, just to satisfy their power, not their love. So when you are working, you have to know that it's just to satisfy your spirit, just to satisfy your love, that you are doing, not for any name or for any kind of a position. If you have that kind of detached love, virakta is the word, then nobody has to certify you. You have it and you are enjoying it. It is unfortunate I have to speak in English language. Maybe there are some who do not understand English. But nowadays the English have become dominating. What to do? You have to speak only in English language and can't use any other language. But one has to speak the language. See animals. See if you have a horse, if you have a dog. All these animals, they understand your love. How they stick to you, how they express their love. They're very sweet. And this we have to learn from them now, I think. Otherwise, I don't know how to make them understand the value of love. It is not that The way people are criticizing that we are not practical, that we have not achieved much money or power or something. That's not important, because there are many like that selling in the market. But we are different. We are the jewels of humanity. And we have to be like that, shiny. Cutting out all the wrong things within us as a diamond is cut to look something very, very great. My only, if I have any, desire is that try to follow the qualities of Shri Mahadeva. How great he is, how detached he is. Detached, absolutely detached. He lives with bones and things like that. He's not bothered about where he lives, what he lives with, what he has, nothing. So detached. We should be detached like that. At the same time, we should be very loving like him. Extremely loving. How his heart is full of love for us. How he looks after us. I'm warning you because I know you all love me very much. But you should also love each other. Should have a loving heart and have satisfaction in loving others. If you could develop that, your height will grow, your depth in Sahajayoga will. It's all right. The goddess gives you the Shraddha, all right. But the depth in Shraddha, in Sanskrit or in Hindi or Marathi, I don't know what you call, but in Marathi they call it dhyas. Just deep into that love, drenched into that love, enjoying that love, then you don't want anything. What do you want? You got everything. So what do you want now? Just like the greatness of Shri Mahadeva is so great that he is detached. What does he want? I mean, nothing is greater than him. Nothing is more important than him. Then what does he want? He doesn't want anything. That's why he's detached. This detachment you have to develop. But at the same time, he is the Lord of all the arts, of the music, of the rhythm. The other day, you saw these boys were playing the rhythm. The whole rhythm of everything he creates. The rhythmic life that we have, we are not yet aware of it. See, a child is born exactly after 9 months, so many days. Who keeps this rhythm? Then we get, say, certain flowers at such and such time. Then we get in the nature all kinds of these seasons. Who keeps the rhythm? He's the one who is nothing but rhythm. And that rhythm is kept up. In the nature, in everything, there's a rhythm. And a rhythmic person is the one who has a very large heart. It's like an ocean. You get just that rhythm disturbed immediately if you find somebody is being very cruel, very bad and all that. But in a smooth, beautiful, peaceful lake, there is no ripple at all. It's just love. And then at that time, if the rhythm, the silent rhythm of that heart is broken, then Shiva takes charge. So, one has to have a complete sense of the rhythm of time, rhythm of nature, rhythm of everything. People don't know even the names of the flowers. They don't know what these flowers are, what time they come up. They have no idea what is the rhythm of their living. Nobody's bothered. All over, if you see, there is seasons and things. It's all the rhythm. Like he's playing a big tabla or a pakwaj, on which he plays all the beautiful tunes of all the seasons. And that's how the nature flourishes and comes up and then subsides. We do not see that point. We just are bothered about us. Like we'll ask, how are you? Mother, I've got a headache, I've got a stomach trouble, I have another trouble, everything is there.
अब हम निश्शब्द ध्यान में रहते हैं। दोनों हाथ जोड़ के श्री माताजी के प्रति आभार व्यक्त करते हैं और प्रार्थनाएं अर्पित करते हैं। परम पूज्य श्री माताजी, आज का सामूहिक ध्यान हम आपके श्री चरणों में समर्पित करते हैं। आज के ध्यान में आपने हमें निरानंद प्रदान कर हमें चैतन्य से आशीर्वादित किया, इसलिए हम आपके हृदय से ऋणी हैं। संपूर्ण विश्व में विश्व निर्मल धर्म प्रस्थापित करने हेतु कृपा कर हमें सहयोग प्रचार प्रसार का शुद्ध एवं प्रभावी माध्यम बनाइएगा माँ। हमारी सभी प्रार्थनाओं का स्वीकार कर हमें आशीर्वादित करने की कृपा करना माँ। जय श्री माता जी। सामूहिक बंधन लेते हैं। आज का ध्यान केंद्र संपन्न होता है। जय श्री माता जी।